So, of course, most of the people here in the audience, they also know, and Mark already mentioned it, the blockchain is also quite a hype. I'm not sure we are in this trough of disillusionment yet. I think many people, they still need to go there and stay there for a while as well. So I've invited some guests that I know are working on this with this technology and observing it for a long time. And I'm really glad that to invite them on stage. Erik Jonker, working at the Bureau for National Commissioner of Digital Government. Erik. Yacoub from Deloitte and Jouke Hofman from Betonic. A warm welcome to them, please. Have a seat, guys.
Oh, dear.
So, first of all, I think it would be nice for everybody in the audience just to know who you are, what you're doing, why do you think it's important what you're doing, and can you also explain to start off in what way did you encounter blockchain for the first time? Or I know, by the way, that you're working with it so long that it was Bitcoin, and maybe also what have you seen since then? Erik, can I start?
Okay, well, my name is Erik Jonker. I work for the Digital Commissioner, Bas Enorm, who's also present here. And I'm working on with my colleagues for the Commissioner on realizing a generic digital infrastructure for the whole of government, and even you can say for the whole of the Netherlands, a national digital infrastructure. Well, we do many things which are not so exciting as blockchain, such as my government portals, EID, base registrations, but we also think about the future. And that's, in that future we think blockchain is essential. And that's why we as a bureau, we are trying to follow all developments in the blockchain area. You asked what my personal environment experience is. Well, I've following now for 2 to 3 years, I think. I have many experiences, but one I will share is, I have to be honest, I only paid just a month ago, I did my first payment with Bitcoin, so that's very late. It was a coffee shop in The Hague. But my really... coffee, I might add. There was a joke that wasn't meant to be, but it was nice. But my really eureka moment is, and we will come to that later, was implementing my first node at home of the Ethereum network, which took me countless evenings of tinkering, installing Linux, getting the synchronization right, but finally it worked. And then I thought, well, if I can do it as a non-techie, then it must be really technology which can change things in a broader way. Also because it worked and I could program on it. It was really great. So that's really my first, my eureka moment really, with the technology.
Cool, thank you. Yacoub.
My name is Yacoub Boersma. As already spoiled by Rutger, one of the first suits in blockchain apparently. So at Deloitte, I lead the blockchain team, which is within technology-enabled solutions, as we call it. And we, of course, also do a lot of different things other than blockchain, but we're also now doing a lot of blockchain projects, building proof of concepts for clients, a lot of training, of course, because a lot of people still are not yet over that hype cycle. And my first contact with Bitcoin in this case was around the end of 2010 when we were organizing a online payments conference and had to find new innovative startups in payments. And at that point we still thought, oh, that this Bitcoin, we've heard about it, and this is probably some kind of American startup. Let's find out who the CEO is so we can get him on stage. It turned out to be in the end one of the core developers who was indeed in a t-shirt and jeans in front of a whole room full of bankers. So that was a really interesting kind of clash of cultures. What we're seeing right now is so at that time it was the people in the t-shirts trying to explain to the people in the suits that this was really going to change the world. And the bankers were saying, no, that's never going to happen. This is some kind of fad. It will blow over. And in the years since, and since we've stopped talking about Bitcoin and we're now talking about blockchain, right now I think it's the other way around. So it's the people in the suits who are saying, yeah, well, this is going to change the world, and the people in the t-shirts saying, well, hold on. You know, with Bitcoin you can do 7 transactions a second right now. So let's not get ahead of ourselves. So it's a really interesting kind of edge that we're walking on between kind of this disillusionment that it's not really there yet and this overhype that is going to change the world in the next few months. I think neither of these are really true. I think I really do believe in the transformational power of this technology, but I do believe it does need to disappear under the hood, and we need to have the focus on the real use cases, and that's why I think I really believe in this kind of hackathon mentality, and that's why we're also really excited to be a partner here.
So, and Jouke?
I'm Yacoub Hofman. I work at Betonic. I'm mostly a developer, and I also pick up the stuff that the other people at the company leave behind. We started with Bitcoin around 2010, and unfortunately, I dismissed it. I didn't get it. I didn't get technology. Said it's probably a Ponzi scheme, and okay, whatever. However, in 2011, the Bitcoin price started to rise, and I was thinking, okay, why are people so stupid? Or maybe am I missing something? And we were with a group of nerds. We know each other from high school, and when we started to study at different universities, we kept in contact with each other on IRC, and we started to piece around in the Bitcoin software, and was suddenly all the pieces fell together, and was like, oh shit, this is new. This is something we have to do something with, and we didn't even know what we wanted to do with it. It was so, we were really enthusiastic about it. And then we wanted to buy Bitcoins ourselves, and it was a real hassle. And while we were trying to find out Bitcoin, we saw a gap in the market. Is that an English term?
Opportunity.
Yeah. Opportunity, and and then we thought, okay, we can fill this hole and start a business.
Right. So sounds like a similarity. With a lot of people here just wanting to find out what to do. So what do you guys think this is now such a hype? I mean, you can talk about AI or anything else, but blockchain is quite something else when it comes to the overhypeness of technology, or isn't it?
Can I say something from a government perspective? Well, it's a hype, but there are many hypes. But there are not a lot of hypes. I see top government officials getting enthusiastic about it when you tell about it, and that's what I see. And the reason for it is to make it a bit dramatic, is that we're in an unsustainable state with the government information. Don't quote me on it.
You just did.
The amount of information is getting larger every time. The diversity is increasing. The legislation is getting more complex every time. So we have to rethink how we organize our information. We have to rethink privacy. We have to put the citizen and the people in the center and organize around it, as you also noted. Mm. That means we have to do some drastic changes in infrastructure and the concepts we use there. And well, no surprise here for the people present. That's something in the area of distributed solutions and blockchain solutions. So I think every civil servant feel in his gut, hey, we're onto something here which we really can use to solve some of our big problems.
So you do a lot of pilot projects. Do you recognize the same thing?
Yeah, I think so. I think what resonates about blockchain with a lot of people that I talk to is this idea of being able to decentralize processes, to put in healthcare the patient in charge of his own data, to put the citizen in charge of his own data, to really give power to the consumer. And that is a trend which has, of course, been talked about completely separate from blockchain for years. But you really need these kind of technological underpinnings to make it a reality. You can talk about it and you can think about it, but you also need the technology side of it. At the same time, there is definitely this risk that it is overhyped, because I think we kind of maybe made a mistake by going by ditching things like Bitcoin and talking about blockchain, because it's such a broad term that everybody can kind of think their own, make their own definition of it. And there's no real standards about it. So we're now talking to people who say, yeah, we can do this and that with blockchain. And when you ask a few more questions, they have no idea what kind of blockchain could fulfill all these ambitions. But well, then we'll just build a new blockchain, because I saw on a YouTube video that it's really easy to start your own blockchain. Yeah, maybe we should explain a little bit more about how these networks really work. So yeah, I still think that there is a lot of potential here because of that synergy with really putting the end user in charge. But we also need to really build things to really show that it works.
Isn't that what also fueled Bitcoin, Jouke? Putting the end user in charge?
I think so. It was my reaction to think, okay, this is a system for and by users, and we don't need a third party to do transactions. And I think that no one is holding you back if you want to innovate on Bitcoin itself. And I think that's a really powerful thing, absolutely. Yep. And about the blockchain term, just today I looked up the Wikipedia edits on blockchain. So in the middle of 2014, it was just referring to Bitcoin and the subnode blockchain, and then suddenly people were thinking, okay, now we need a different Wikipedia page just for blockchain itself. And if you look at the developments there, then someone would say, is it decentralized? Not everything is, not every blockchain is decentralized anymore. Does it need proof of work? No, it's all out of the blockchain Wikipedia page at the moment. And but was unexpected a hype? I don't know. If we look at the main use case at the moment for blockchain, Bitcoin, I think that's it shows what's possible.
Yeah. So now we have a lot of third parties also partnering with the hackathon. So what can they learn from Bitcoin? Because that's the most advanced use case we have,
and
right?
Of them all. Yeah.
Yeah, I think in a lot of talks we have with several businesses, we notice that the businesses themselves are thinking, okay, how can we incorporate blockchain? Well, yeah, probably blockchain is going to cut them out of the whole business model. And yeah, I'm not really sure. I think it's really great to have the government involved. I think that's a really powerful part. With the businesses, yeah, we're going to see.
So do you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, well, there are several dimensions on it. Some government agencies are just looking at blockchain as a way to optimize their back office processes, and that's also the same with banks. In the beginning, they just said, well, we now have a very different. We have a linked back offices, and we can't handle the complexity. So maybe the blockchain can offer a solution. But I see less government officials thinking about it really in disruptive terms. Well, can we change society? Can we put the citizen in the center? That needs some work, to put it euphemistically. But as a civil servant, it was already mentioned, everybody is in it to make a profit in some way. And for governments, there is a big profit involved because, well, as I said, our complexity is growing, the costs are growing. I don't need to give examples of failed IT projects. There are many. So also in corporates, by the way. But so we need a solution, as I said, some fundamental solution for those problems on an infrastructure level. And blockchain is no wonder oil. It will not solve every part of it, but at least some aspects with regard to authenticity, continuity, quality control, oversight. We can help solve with that.
So.
Yeah, and I think if you ask the question, what can you learn from Bitcoin, is that it's also you keep evolving, right? So the Bitcoin protocol is also that's the fundamental part of what makes it such a successful open source project, is that it can keep evolving, and that you can, if you want to, you can make a fork and create your own thing. But even within the Bitcoin ecosystem, you're having now developments like Lightning networks, which will make huge improvements on the speed with which you can do things. But even without that, on top of the Bitcoin network, you can build things with colored coins. You can use it to track assets which are completely separate from the core Bitcoins in the network. So already you have this kind of network that you can that a lot of people are already using to make money with. So the whole thing, this blockchain is not yet ready to make money, is also kind of depending on how you look at it, because there are already people like the man on my left who are definitely making money using blockchain. Mm-hmm. It's just you need to be also daring to reduce your own role in the network, and that is the exciting part, and also I think the really difficult part for large companies to say, a part of what I'm doing is going to be decentralized, and I'm going to put that outside of my own organization, and that will for some part be a reduction of cost, but it will also mean that you're opening yourself up to really new kinds of competition as well.
Mm-hmm. So how can we break through this, because everybody's like really they start doing pilots, but not much, and the promises are huge, but there are not much live running applications. There are only a few, for instance, in the Netherlands, like maybe on 4 or 5 that are really into production. What do you need? What do we need to break through this? What do you think, Yacoub? Because you started very early.
Yeah, we didn't know what we did was going to be a business. We just did it, and I pilots. I think there isn't much more you can do, mm-hmm. But I think the more the better. We don't know what's going to stick. We probably need some elements we don't even know we need at the moment, and we only know it afterwards, saying, "Oh yeah, of course we needed this," and now the network is growing, and so the only way to go forward is try stuff and see what works.
Also we need some critical mass, and that's a good thing I think about the blockchain hackathon, is that we can reach some critical mass in the whole pilot process, that clear for everybody to see. We can show the potential of blockchain in various use cases and scenarios, and also we need to convince the people at the top, the decision makers, and that will be very useful for this venture. Very important.
So after these pilots, what will be the next phase then? Because
just to add a little bit, also as eloquently formulated by the professor, we need a change of culture. Uh-huh. We need to think about innovating in a constant pace, and not innovating and then finishing and then this was it, and now we continue with business as usual. Yeah. And it also gives answer on. Then you also can give answer to vulnerabilities and things that need to be developed, because the culture will change. We have the culture that we will continually improve and develop, instead of we have a hype, let's do some hackathon and we finish and then we go on. It needs to change in the culture really of organizations and people.
And how do you, because changing cultures is known to be quite
takes
difficult.
10 years or something like that.
And you don't know which way it will go, as we see in society as well. But how would you see governments changing?
Well, to be very honest, of course, the traditional government hierarchy and structure you will not change. Mm-hmm. But you can make a body, a network, a movement, call it what you will, where you organize your innovation, where you bring people together from science, from government, from companies, and work on new things which make sense. And making sense, I mean where you can make money with, where you can do something good for your citizens and companies, where you can improve government in a general way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think also making the connections is really important as well. Yes, we're going to do this hackathon, and teams are going to create stuff, but then afterwards you need to build it further. And I think a large part of that is connecting the makers of these solutions to the parties that they need to bring it further, and that can be maybe a technical partner to develop the technology further, but it can also be connecting them to the right financial institution, maybe to support the traditional financial transactions which may be necessary. But also the connections to the government are super important here, because Mark already mentioned, of course, we need more governance around this area, but we shouldn't wait until that governance is all clear and ready before we start doing stuff, because rules and regulations will always need to follow on technology. So we have to build the technology first and build the solutions first, and then we can go to the government bodies and say, we think this is a really great way to do stuff. How can we fit this within the rules?
And you also have some experience organizing blockchain hackathons in other places of the world, Ireland, for instance.
Yeah.
How do you see solutions? Can they be brought further into the development?
Yeah, I think so, but it is a tricky one, because everybody, if your only goal with doing a hackathon is creating something which generates press and a lot of promotion for hey, this was a great idea, then of course then you don't need to really do anything afterwards. But if you really want to build it into something real, then you need to really You need to realize that the effort of putting in 54 hours it sounds like a lot of effort, but it's really just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
So it's to create a new business model or a new application which can really work for the whole of the Netherlands. That takes a lot of time, even when you're working agile and Scrum and everything like that.
So, but that sounds like a good opportunity for people who want to build a startup.
Yeah. Well, yes.
How was building a startup for you in the Netherlands, building on blockchain, Bitcoin?
I think we were lucky, or maybe not so. No, I'm saying this. I think innovation is really hard, because you don't know beforehand if an idea is going to work, and so I'm saying we were lucky, but. We started the business with 3 friends, and we did a lot of projects before. We have websites, and they didn't work, and this one did. And fortunately enough, we were students, and we did it in our spare time. And but at the moment, as a business, innovating is really hard. We had some innovations, and some didn't work, and some are working, but way slower than we thought they were. And so we need the capacity, we need the money to keep it rolling, and maybe in a couple of years it will grow bigger than it is now, but I think it's hard.
Okay.
So any support is welcome.
Yeah. Do you have a Bitcoin address? So Erik, you're saying governmental organizations, they are eager to change a lot of things, the way they work as well.
They have a lot of problems they need solutions for.
Exactly. How do you see the government working together with startups?
It sounds easy, but I think it's quite complicated, but I think we can do it also in the context of the blockchain hackathon, because there are many interests at stake. Blockchain wants to make money, develop a business. Government wants to do what's best for its citizens, wants to provide security and trust, but also wants to promote entrepreneurial spirit in the country. And we have to mix all those interests together and let everybody play his role. So, and I already see those discussions starting, and I also see this our role to organize that playing field in a fair way, so that startups can make money, the government can accomplish its goals in policy, that the university gets his input for colleges and for workshops and for research, and balancing all those interests and combining it in an innovation context is really the challenge, and I think we can play a role there.
Great.
Besides all the technical issues, which are very important, but I'm not able to solve.
And Yacoub, how do you think about the corporates working together with startups when it comes to finding new solutions?
Yeah, so we of course we try to all us big corporates, we try to work together with startups, but it's always like looking for the right ways to find the good synergies. But I think it starts with a kind of a cultural or a mental shift that you need to be prepared to kind of eat yourself before you're eaten by some new startup, and that's what we tell our clients. But also what we need to tell ourselves, because we as a accountant firm or an audit firm, we are also very vulnerable to being kind of disintermediated by something like the blockchain. But it's hard, and it's an ongoing search for how you can do that.
Cool. All right, so I want to conclude. So are there any questions from the audience? Yeah. It's already there.
Sorry. Last week I had a meetup about local currency. Is blockchain? Can we use blockchain for local currencies? And how do the bank of the future look like?
Wow, small question.
Yeah.
That's something for you.
So yeah, that's a small question. So I actually think that using cryptocurrencies as a form of local currency is definitely a very interesting fit, and I think that actually already happens with some altcoins, which are basically local in a kind of community, except the community doesn't have to be physically in the same location anymore. But and as for what the future of a bank looks like, maybe you're better off asking Mark. I think he has done a lot more thought about that than most people in this room.
All right, Mark, what is the future of the bank?
I always end up answering these questions during the hackathons and these type of meetings. And actually, I got asked the same question by a journalist here. It is my firm belief, and I think our firm belief as ING, that banks still will exist in the coming decades. They will not go away. They might look differently than they are looking today, and seeing what's happening with technology, how it changed our organization over the past 4 years. If you look at the number of people that are still working with us, the number of branches that we have, but also if you look at how we're working right now with our mobile apps, which are scored extremely highly, the client friendliness, the simplicity, etc. 4 years ago, 5 years ago, everybody said Bitcoin and blockchain in general will wipe banks away. What we're also seeing today is that Bitcoin is a currency that changes too much in terms of value, right? If Trump gets elected, Bitcoin goes up. I don't know if that's what kind of sign that actually is, but the volatility of these currencies is still too large to be let's say, a currency for the world. I do believe that if you do this in a more closer environment and regulate it, and experiments are going on, that it might work. I don't believe that banks will be fully disintermediated, that bank will trust, that consumers will trust, or corporates will trust their money to a cloud or whatever, and that people will take care of their 1.2 billion that is standing in a current account, or your life savings that are standing. Because that's my major question. I'm always asking: do you really want your money to be somewhere in a cloud where there's no checks, no controls, there's no central banks, etc., etc. So in that sense, that I still believe that there will be banks, but in a completely different way. We have to reinvent ourselves, because a lot of the stuff that we're doing can potentially be disintermediated, and I do believe that. And that's why we're jumping on this wagon and want to be the first to better understand what is possible, what not, and how we should change to survive in that world. What is our core competence? You may laugh about it, but it's still our core competence, and a core belief why people are still with us is still trust. right? You can debate about that, but it's still the cornerstone of a bank and how banks are being installed and regulated. So I see a bright future for us, guys.
Well, that's...
But
So-
I think this is also actually, if you replace the word bank in that answer with a government organization or whichever other corporate that you could think of, it's still true. The reinvention part is, I think, the key here. And looking at what is your core competence and which parts of your organization are going to be replaced by automation and which parts are really the ones that add value.
Yeah. So I think it was an interesting question, Mark. Who in here wants his money in the cloud without central banks? Yeah,
It's not represented.
Misschien niet helemaal
it's not really representative, but no, but there is a market for that, and that's I think what Bitcoin is showing that it's still a potential market.
And let's not forget, it's not all about money with blockchain.
Exactly. So yeah. All right. I want to conclude, unless there are burning questions. I want to conclude the panel discussion. Please, a warm hand for. All right.